Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is a content production system. So this is a system that I use to produce and publish images and photos for my arts practice. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing systems. I've designed systems for large-scale events, for example. Now, what's important is that we need to design a system, or you need to design a system that works for your needs. Now, the key plank of the system is a phone, and that's assuming most people have phones. Now, modern phones are amazing technology that take really high quality video and images. The key thing is to learn how to use it. In addition to learning the basics of photography, composition, storytelling, all the things. In addition to learning software to then how to process those images and then how to get them online. Even learning things like how to use Instagram is a learning curve. So this is a simple system, so it's a good place to start. And then as your needs are more, you can then expand on that. Now, what I recommend is you create your own Instagram account. Even if it's private, you don't share it with anyone. And then you post a photo and or video every day. And what they'll do is the first bunch of photos, we're just figuring out how to take a photo and then how to get it to your desktop to resize it and then get it to Instagram. Like, that will be a key challenge, just that step. Then once you've got that in place, it's in place. So it's going to be a lot quicker to do it. Or it's just part of your process. And then the next thing will go, well, how do I make my photo a bit better? Or how do I do this? How do I do that? And then so you start building up those skills and building up that fluency. Then after a while, a lot of this thing in this guide will be intuitive. You won't even really think about it. You'll just be looking in the camera and you'll start taking better shots because you're not thinking about it, but you understand the concepts. And then from there, you're ready to go to start putting your stuff live. Now, if you look at my old training videos on the web, they're actually quite awful. However, they're really useful and really good for a lot of people. The thing is, now I'm getting better at making videos. And the way I got better was just to do it and to start. So I just got started using basic tools and then away we go. So it's really important you just do it and learn as you go. The other really important key thing is, how do you have fun doing this? Because if you're having fun, then you're more likely to do it. So if you're really into a hobby, you're into dogs, your dogs, for example, then maybe create an Instagram about your dogs. If you're really into communicating with your family or whatever it is that is actually fun, brings you joy, then how do you integrate that into this learning process? Okay, so we need a mobile phone. Now, some people do the entire editing process on a phone. If you want to learn how to do that, that's great. To me, it does my head in because a phone's just too restrictive. So this process involves shooting on a phone, bringing it to my desktop to process, putting it back onto the phone to then publish on Instagram. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is learn your camera software and settings. So go through with them, play with them, see what they do. Even if you have to look on guides, maybe even pull out the manual if you really have to. But learn what the phone does and how to use it. Become fluent with the tools. The other thing is turn on the instant camera open. So learn how to open that camera up super fast, because there's times where you might want to get that quick shot. You want to do a bit of planning. And the first thing is learn what your target platform requires. So for example, Instagram requires portrait. So there's no point shooting in landscape. Instagram prefers short form video. So there's no point shooting a really long video. So once you understand what your platform wants, then you know what you can sort of shoot for. Now, if you're shooting for multiple platforms, it's really important to shoot both landscape and portrait. So when I'm processing my images for my folio, then they'll be exported as landscape from my website. They'll be exported as landscape for Facebook. They'll be exported as portrait for Instagram. So I'll be shooting in those contexts. And also video, if you're going to YouTube, it's going to be landscape. Now, these aren't hard rules because those platforms also do blend. And again, the more you understand the platform, the more you'll be able to understand what it needs. So you want to plan what story you're telling with your image. So sometimes your stories aren't that complex. However, a lot of the times it might be, we need a photo for our website which shows a dog off lead, having fun on the beach on a nice day with no one else on the beach. So then that's a bit of a story that we are now like got to try to figure out how to shoot. Perspective means like, are we going to be taking a ladder and then shooting downwards? Are we going to put the phone down, crawl down and shoot from the ground? Are we going to shoot at head height? If you're doing an interview or an event, use multiple phones. Then have two different angles, and then you can then jump between them. So now you're on location and you're setting up to take your photos and video. So select where you're going to take it and what perspective you are. Now plan your composition. So this is the part where you learn the art of photography, and specifically composition is how do you frame your image. So there's a bunch of rules with photography, and by learning the basic rules, if you just follow them, by default you get decent images. And then once you then learn that, then you can learn when not to use those rules and to break the rules. But for example, the rule of thirds. So if you break up your frame into 3 thirds, vertical and horizontal, and then you use those lines to position. So for example, if you're at a beach, you could use the top third line to position the horizon. Check your light and background. Your lighting's really important. Also check your frame for clutter. There's many times when I've gotten a photo back and there's this random thing in the way that totally ruins the shot. Or maybe it's something that shouldn't be there. Or maybe it's something completely out of context. So you want to sort a tripod. Set your camera up on a tripod. If you don't have a tripod, you work out a solid base. So by that, you want to position your body so that you've got less movement. So make sure you're in a really solid stance. You can also like tuck your elbows in, and then make a triangle with your hand, and then hold the camera. So you're in a really steady position. So your priority is to keep that camera solid, because any movement will cause blurriness and is really bad for your shots. Movement in video is just really painful for the user, and you've seen many videos where it's sort of shaking or it's just painful. So you really need to get solid shots. And yeah, a tripod's great. You could also make tripods. You might get a broom and a bit of gaffer tape and gaffer the phone to the broom. There you go. So you don't need to spend big money, you just get creative. Or there might be things you might put it on a table and stack it up with some books and lean it against it so it's nice and stable. Now, if you're doing video, make sure you got free movement if you want to pan or like you're walking or traveling, because last thing you want to do is be doing your video and then like you can't move for some reason, something's in the way or your arm's in the wrong position or whatever. Now check your phone settings again to make sure that's set correctly, including your resolution. So if you shoot too low, then the images can't be used for anything that needs high resolution. If it's too high, you're going to have these massive images that are hard to manage. And clean your lens. This is sort of a basic thing, but most people, like their phone's in their pocket, it gets dirty. So you've got the camera in front of you, you're looking through the lens, you're about to shoot. So you just want to refine your perspective. So you may be low, so you're just sort of tweaking that to just optimize it. You're then just tweaking your composition just to make sure that if you're using the thirds approach, then the thirds are lined up and in the right spot. You want to refine the lighting. Sometimes if you move the phone, depending on the lighting conditions where the source is, it may have a different effect on the shot. So you're sort of slightly doing that. Now you want to check your people. Now, if their body language or their face has moved since you did your pre-checks, then you want to you need to stop and then get them back into what you need. Then make sure it's focused. So with a phone, generally if you tap on your focal point, it will focus on that. Shooting. Keep still and keep calm. Now take lots of shots. Your digital camera can store hundreds, if not thousands of photos. So if you go home to shortlist and you got 10 photos and they're not quite right, well, you've got to do the best we've got. If you got 100 photos, 200 photos, and you throw most of them out, you're going to get better shots. So if you do lots of shots and then you do slightly different angles, slightly different composition, slightly different lighting, if you are shooting early morning or dusk, you actually take the same shots but over half an hour. The lighting will change and it will affect your shots. And then play experiment. So you're here to learn photography while you're doing it. So once you've taken all your planned and your shots, following all the rules, then start breaking the rules. Start experimenting. Start doing things that you haven't done before. That helps you learn the camera, helps you learn the shots. If you're shooting video, move slowly. Now, the other technique that I use when I'm shooting video, especially video like this, is the one-shot video. So I will take as least cut as possible. So I may take a shot 5 times, 10 times, so that I don't have to edit. So I'm reducing the amount of edits, even if I have to repeat myself multiple times, because editing's a pain and it's a barrier to getting it published. I then move the images to the desktop. The easier, the file sharing services, Dropbox. I use K-Drive. They do the same thing. So basically I can just share all my photos to the K-Drive, it uploads it, and then I go to my desktop and they're there. So then I can then take them out of there, do my processing, and then I put them back, and then I go to my phone and there they are. Then I shortlist my images. So I mentioned before, take lots of photos. So therefore now you shortlist them and start selecting. So you're looking at a whole bunch of things. Obviously your story, quality of the image, lighting, people's eyes closed, and you're looking for the ones that work the best for your use. Once you've shortlisted the photos, you need to edit them in some way. So you need image editing software. So most computers, Mac, PC, comes with basic image editing software. And so get started with the free stuff. Also, tools like Canva are free, and they're really powerful tools that do a bunch of this. Now, at some point, you will invest in more quality software. So the essentials you need to be able to do is crop. So by cropping, your composition may be slightly out, or you now say, well, if I can cut this bit out or that bit, I'm going to get a better result. Now, you're probably shooting at much higher resolution than you need. So at that point, you need to then resize down to a realistic format. So your web pages, for example, you're probably looking at for a big image, 1100 pixels, whereas your camera's going to be shooting probably 20 times the size of that. So you need to be able to bring it down. The other thing you need to do is export to the required formats, and that includes compression. But the next level is learning that software and doing things like adjusting exposure and contrast, color correction, sharpening, retouching. This is also good skills that if you've got the perfect photo for the story, but then the quality is not great, or there's issues with the lighting, then you can then edit that photo and make it usable. Now, video editing software, the essentials, cut, head and tail. So the default QuickTime on Mac allows me to cut the start and the end. Now, the next level, this video I've just produced, I've done it in probably 4 or 5 takes, and there's a few takes where it's sort of I stopped halfway. So I am going to have to edit this file. So the software that I use is iMovie, which again default for Mac, and allows me to combine those files, and it will allow me to cut them and edit them. And then I'll be able to export it to the correct format, specifically YouTube, which I'll publish this video to YouTube. So now you've got your file, there's a few other things you usually need to do for social media. So Instagram, you'll need some supporting copy. Same with Facebook. You may have links, you may have call to actions back to your website, that sort of stuff. If you're doing video, it's best practice to do subtitles, even though I haven't subtitled this one. However, it is best practice. So, and there's a bunch of other things that you would do for different contexts. So now you're ready to publish. So if I'm publishing to Instagram, it prefers posting from the phone on the K-Drive, put it back on the phone, publish it from there. The other approach is, if you're serious about social media, is to use a social media manager such as SocialBee. They allow you to schedule all your posts over a month. Now, Meta will allow you to do this as well with Meta Suite, Instagram and Facebook, but it's a clunky tool, and as I said, it's missing a few features. Now, the other benefit of SocialBee is you can merge all your other social accounts, I mean, LinkedIn and YouTube and the other stuff using, but it centralizes your messages, for example. So all your messages come into one place. You can manage all your communications, publish from it, etc. they can be expensive if you're not using them, but if you are investing in social media, then they're really good value for money. Now, optional accessories. Now, a microphone. This is a priority of interviewing. So I recommend the Rode range of microphones. They're very good quality for the price. If I'm doing an interview or an in-person event, then I'd actually want lapel mics. That really improves the quality. Now, if you're outside and there's wind, that's a key issue for your audio. So a microphone will help that, especially lapel. Even if the person's going to sort of hold it and talk like that. If it's coming out of your phone, it's going to be awful audio. And like shaky video, awful audio makes it painful to watch. A remote shutter control. This is basically a remote control that allows you to click the press photo button. So when you press the photo button on your phone, a lot of times you'll shake it, even slightly. And being still is really key. So rather than actually touching your phone, you can then click the clicker, which will get you a better shot. It also means that you can stand away from the phone. So you may even want to be in the shot yourself, for example. Now, a gimbal is now getting a bit more advanced and a bit more cost. So basically, this is a device that stabilizes your phone when you're walking around taking video. So it just increases the, removes the shaking. Portable lighting setup. So lighting is really key for a lot of contexts. So having your own lighting to back up what you're trying to do. Having portable batteries to make sure your phone's still going and your lighting and all that. And then your really high-end advanced add-on is a drone, which will allow you to take those special aerial shots.